I recently took the Enneagram personality test, and despite my general skepticism, I actually found the test to be super helpful. So in this video, I want to take you through the reasons why you should take a personality test, if not Enneagram, but any other test, how you can use that personality test to live, learn, and work better, which is exactly what we do on this channel. So first, the reasons. The first reason is articulating the obvious. Personality tests are helpful because they give words to something you feel or think that you are. It may not be entirely accurate, which is okay, but they give you a general sense of the room, the structure, the house. The way I like to think about personality tests is that imagine that you're blindfolded and the test tells you, okay, here's the walls, here's your makeup of the house, here's your living room, here's your family room. And I think knowing the general architecture of the house as you're blindfolded is incredibly helpful because it gives you a sense of self-awareness, a degree of control over your surroundings. And that surroundings, in case of a personality test, is, well, your personality. The second reason is what I like to call the mirror test, except that it's not the magic mirror in Snow White. Instead, it's the real mirror, which shows the real you and forces you to look into it. And that's hard because oftentimes accepting yourself and the idea of who you are totally different. And so personality tests help bridge this gap between you and the idea of you. And finally, the third reason to take a test is, of course, self-knowledge, which, as all of us know, what Socrates said and why that's so important, so I need not even go deeper into that. And now, how you can use a personality test to live better. So in this case, since I recently took the Enneagram, I'm just going to take you through what the Enneagram is all about, how it's structured, and why you should probably consider taking it. So I'm on the Enneagram Institute's website, and we will go through what this test is all about, but first let me give you an overview of what this thing is. I think this diagram would do justice to the entire test. So this diagram is showing the 9 different types of personality that you may have if you do consider taking the Enneagram test. You could be, as type 1 is, the reformer, or type 2, the helper, type 3, the achiever, type 4, the individualist, and so on and so forth. This continues. But the thing to understand over here is that there are 9 personality types, and in each of these personality types, there are 9 levels of being healthy. So you could be a type 1 personality type, which is the reformer, and you could have levels of, let's see, you could be healthy, you could be average, or you could be unhealthy. So in each type, there are 9 levels. So in total, there are like 81 combinations, but that's something to consider at a much later stage. Right now, what we need to understand is that it's not important whether you are type 1 or type 9, but what's more important in my estimate is what is the level at which you are in that particular personality type. Because you could be a type 1, let's say the reformer, but you're on level 9, which is like totally unhealthy. That is a state that we don't want to be in for reasons that are, of course, obvious. I think that is the way to crack the Enneagram test and how to really understand how to derive the maximum benefit out of it. Let's just go through very quickly what these types are and what they're largely going to represent. So you could be a reformer if you are incredibly motivated to look for the right ideal, you're very principled, you're purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionist. You could be the helper if you're just generally very helpful to your friends, family, and you're trying to always see how you can add value in other people's lives. You could be the achiever if you're a very success-oriented person. You could be the individualist who is sensitive, kind of withdrawn type, as it says over here. Or the investigator who is always trying to piece what things are, how things are moving, how things interconnect, and so on and so forth. I think all of these types may not be entirely accurate, but the idea is to just broadly have a general sense of which area, which personality type, which attributes you tend to optimize on or you over-index on. And taking a test, which is literally, I think, 100 questions or so, which is a matter of a few minutes, is going to be helpful to indicate to you that these are your predispositions, these are your inclinations, this is how you tend to be as a person. And of course, once you identify who you are as a person, what your inclinations are, your predispositions are, then let's say you can also interact and find out with your friends or family what their personality types are. And this is where the Enneagram gets a bit more interesting because let's say if you are type 2, the helper, and your best friend is type 4. So now what you can do is you can check your compatibility between your type and your friend's type, which is a type 4. And that's when things get more interesting, because now you see the ups and the downs of the relationship between a type 2 and a type 4. And just understanding that is incredibly reassuring, rewarding, and enlightening, because it articulates how relationships most likely tend to be. And again, it need not be 100% accurate. To a first degree of approximation, if you can almost get there, or if you can just generally point out the lay of the land to somebody, I think that would be an incredible value add to that person's life. And having that self-knowledge and then making big decisions in life is just incredibly easier once you have that self-knowledge. This is how, for example, Enneagram type 2, the helper, and the individualist, Enneagram type 4, interact. And so this is something that I particularly found very interesting. But now, of course, you may also say that, you think that you are type 2, but you also have attributes of a type 9 or a type 5. Type 5, again, is the investigator. And in that case, Enneagram also has this interesting subsection about how type 2s tend to get confused with type 5s or type 9s or literally any other personality type. So if you can then dig deeper into, all right, this is the kind of type that I resonate with more, but my test is telling me that this is the kind of person that I am, then you can actually go into that type that you think you are and see why there are mistaken identities, why the personality test is telling you who you are, and how can you then reconcile the difference. And that's also something that I think brings the needle of accuracy towards the place where it should be. So it's things like these in this particular test that I found super interesting. And of course, we've already gone through the levels of healthy, average, or unhealthy, which I think are helpful, because you could be a type 2, but if you're a type 2 but at level 9, again, that's not good. Whereas you could be a type 3 who is like the opposite of type 2 in some ways, because type 3 is more of the achiever kind. And in that case, even if you're a level 5 or level 4, which is healthier than a type 2 level 9, that's going to be much more interesting and much more rewarding and fulfilling in the long run. So this is how the Enneagram essentially works, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks.